You left me here behind. You said you'd grow old with me. Thought we had the time, had our lives, now you never get older, older. Didn't say goodbye, now I'm frozen in time, getting colder, colder. Just one last word, one last moment to ask you why you left me here behind. You said you'd grow old with me.
Everybody loves the things you do, from the way you talk to the way you move. Everybody here is watching you, 'cause you feel like home. You're like a dream come true. But if by chance you're here alone, can I have a moment before I go? 'Cause I've been by myself all night long, hoping you're someone I used to know. You look like a movie, you sound like a song. My God, this reminds me of when we were young. Let me photograph you in this light in case it is.
Well, I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty and the moonlight overthrew you. And she tied you to her kitchen chair, and she broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah, Baby, I've been here before. I've seen this room and I've walked this floor. You know, I used to live alone before I knew you. And I've seen your flag on the marble arch. And love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Denise Wotherspoon, and on behalf of Brendan and the team at Parkside Funerals, I'm honoured to be leading the celebration of Daniel's life. On behalf of Daniel's parents, Noel and Karen, his brothers Ben and Josh, his sisters Ella and Lily, his beloved Nan Carol, and the entire Murray family, I warmly welcome you and sincerely thank you for being here today. To Daniel's extended family, his many friends, his work colleagues from the RACT, members of the Somerset Strikers Cricket Club, and to those who are joining us online because you are unable to be here in person, thank you. Your presence today is a quiet but powerful reminder that Daniel's life mattered deeply and that his family do not walk this difficult road alone. There are some days in life that simply don't make sense. Today is one of them. The death of someone so young, so full of life, leaves us searching for words that often seem impossible to find. It leaves questions that have no easy answers, dreams that will never be fulfilled, and hearts that struggle to accept a reality that feels so terribly unfair. The sadness in our chapel this afternoon is palpable. For Noel and Karen, there is the unimaginable grief of saying goodbye to a son. For Ben, Josh, Ella and Lily, there is the heartbreak of losing a brother who has been part of every chapter of their lives. For Nan Carol, there is the sorrow that no grandparents ever wish to know. For his workmates, teammates, friends and neighbours, there is the loss of someone whose laughter, kindness and friendship became part of everyday life. Each of us arrived carrying something different this afternoon. Some carry tears, some carry shock, some carry those unanswered questions, others carry treasured memories and stories that already feel more precious than ever before. However you have come today, whatever you are feeling, know that it is enough. There is no right way to grieve. There is only love trying to find somewhere to go. Today is not about finding answers because some questions remain beyond our understanding. Instead, we have gathered to do something profoundly human. We've come to honour a remarkable young man. We've come to surround his family with our love. We have come to remember the laughter, the conversations, the loyalty, the kindness and the countless ordinary moments that together made Daniel's life extraordinary. Some lives are remembered because of great achievements, but Daniel will be remembered because of the way he made people feel. He made people laugh. He made people feel welcome. He listened and he cared. He remembered the little things that everyone else had forgotten. He loved without making a fuss about it. Whether it was sharing a conversation, helping someone solve a problem, quoting The Simpsons or Family Guy at exactly the right moment, or staying behind to help his sister after work, or encouraging a mate, or simply checking in on someone who needed it, Daniel quietly made life better for the people around him. And that is a rare gift. His life reminds us that greatness is not always found in grand gestures. Sometimes it's found in showing up, in working hard, in standing by your family, in being loyal to your mates, in making people smile on any ordinary Tuesday. That was Daniel. Today we will hear stories from those who knew him best. Stories of a son, a brother, a grandson, a mate, a teammate, a trusted colleague. Stories that will make us smile, stories that will almost certainly make us cry, and stories that will remind us just how fortunate we have been to have known him. The privilege of sharing Daniel's story now belongs to someone who has loved him all of his life. His uncle Ian has prepared Daniel's eulogy on behalf of the family, and I invite Ian forward when you're ready. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you. I'm just checking that this microphone isn't either deafening to people or are you able to hear without feeling it being shouted at? Okay. Thank you. I am Daniel's uncle, brother of his father Noel. And it's really deliberate that I say am, not was. And I think you'll pick that up as we proceed this afternoon. The other thing that I've got to say to you all is this is not going to be a standard eulogy whereby I work through each step of Daniel's life. What it is part of a jigsaw. So I'll give a view that can only be of the things that I was present for, really. But when you put together what other people will say this afternoon, I think you'll get a fairly comprehensive glimpse, because how do you do justice to a whole life in an hour? It's tough. It's tough. I'm also overwhelmed by the number of you that have given up your time to be here from so many different areas of our family's life. That support is really, really important. Daniel loved people, and people loved Daniel. Daniel was not a saint. I am certainly not a saint, and I would wager, part of not being a saint, that there's no one before me who would want to make such a claim about themselves and their lives. I think sometimes I've certainly been to funerals where I've heard people eulogise to a point that would just be impossible to live up to. Daniel was on a journey, as we're all on a journey. 12,300 days. By my reckoning, that's about the extent of Daniel's life. And we will say he died very young, such a short life. But relatively speaking, it was a life. Statistically speaking, it was a lot more than other people get. And I can confidently say to you that Daniel made the most of every day. When Ella and Lily put together the photo boards up the back that we had the opportunity to look at yesterday, what I noticed in looking at all of them, a certain glint in young Daniel's eye. It was there from the beginning. It wasn't always an indication that something good was about to happen, but something interesting was almost guaranteed to be about to happen. It's hard to think of Daniel without thinking of fun times. The early days, I'm not the only one in this room who was there within the first 24 hours of Daniel being born. And I'm unworthy in terms of putting into words what I saw in his parents' face that day, a pure joy. A joy I knew I wouldn't be experiencing. And I've been very lucky in that my brother has a family of 3 boys, and my sister has a family of 4 boys. Well, they're not boys anymore. I kept calling them boys. That they were young men, and now they're men in their 30s for the greater part. And I've been privileged to be allowed to be part of their growing up, their evolution as people. I couldn't be prouder, and I couldn't be happier. And I thank both Noel and Cheryl, Philip, Karen, for allowing that to become part of my life. Daniel went to school at Cooey Primary and then moved on to Burnie High. Most of our family have been to the same 2 schools. And conveniently, Gran, our mum, lived in Cooey. So Daniel often found himself there after school, and he would go and stay with Gran, and she would have the day absolutely packed with activities, and which he would love. He always had to be doing something, and they had a very, very close bond. Mum's not here to speak for herself, but I'm sure she'd be proud of Daniel's life, the way in which Noel has been to him as a father, and to all of you people. In the younger years, I can remember lots of the 2 families, the Adams family and the Murray family, used to gather for family birthdays, Christmases, Easter times, and it was either at Cooey or in Ulverston, and that's a tradition that's gone on right up to the present day. And it's funny because... Sorry, I need to have just a brief drink. It's funny because on those occasions, particularly Christmas, a lot of money was spent on a lot of technology. And some of you will be very familiar with the era in which they grew up. But it was the simple things. My mum, Daniel's Gran, had the fridge delivered sometime before Christmas. And the carton was still there. Well, those boys got more joy out of that carton on the path leading down to the clothesline than out of anything else that was given that Christmas. Made their own fun, and I could talk for an hour just on the privilege of watching that. And I'm not a big believer in money for money's sake, but it just shows you that happiness comes from genuine feelings for each other, and that money's not necessarily part of that. I want to talk a bit about brothers. Brothers are a testing ground for the world. So when you're growing up, you find out about yourself by, bit of gentle competition with your brothers. Ultimately, though, your best mates, you're there for each other. Sometimes you have to sit through things that seem like they're never going to end. This might be one of them. But you know, the fact is you are there. You are there. And sometimes things change over time, and it starts with a bit of gentle prodding and poking and stirring and skirmishes. Things change over time, and people who were little grow and can't leave the gym alone, and the world turns, and there's a general sort of pushback. But I want to say, particularly to Ben and Josh, because I was part of it. I was part of the joking around and everything else. Don't ever look back with regret on those times, because I think we all thought that Daniel would live to be an older person and we could all sit round and laugh about what used to be. It didn't pan out that way, but Daniel knew. Daniel knew that family was family. So never forget that. My brother Noel is good at most things, just about everything as far as I can. Gave me a good hiding at just about every sport under the sun, and playing golf. He told me once that when I questioned him getting upset, he said, well, if I was as bad as you, I wouldn't get upset either. Noel doesn't talk as much as me, but when he speaks, it's the truth. But whatever thing Noel might have been good at, I'm sure he was born, destiny if you like, I don't use words like that very much, to be up there. I'm not going to say the best father is potentially insulting to other people, but he was up there with the best father that any boy or girl could wish for. And it's a story of self-sacrifice. So if the boys showed Noel, for many of you know that Noel is what I would term a car nut, particular Holden nut, and I think he hoped that the boys would head down that path, and I say luckily none of them ever did. And not the Holden thing, but just the car obsession. But Daniel did show some early interest, and I think I can remember being at Symonds Plains with Noel. I can remember Daniel being there, and so that was a big thing. But Noel sacrificed his time, so he managed his job around his family and what their needs were. And the boys have both spoken to me at different times about the fact that they can't remember a sporting event where Noel hasn't been there to support them. So when Daniel started playing for the Somerset Cricket Club, the next minute, Noel's treasurer. When Josh started playing football for the Dockers, Noel quickly ended up as team manager for the reserves. And whatever he does, like Noel's not ever been one to chase titles or anything else. You know, like he's more than happy to just be of service quietly. His sacrifice in terms of giving up sleep because he was worried about something that was happening. Don't worry, there were plenty of good times, but he rode out the tough times bump by bump with them. Sorry again. I jokingly started to refer to Noel as the Bank of Noel because unlike most banks who loan you money and you pay them back a bit more than they loaned you, often the money didn't come back, and Noel didn't. I don't think Noel is someone who makes money in order to throw it around like Scrooge McDuck. Noel is someone who saw money as being of value for what he could do for the boys. It maybe travel, but certainly he did and continues to be very generous to them, and I think that their willingness to ask him when they need a hand is part of family, important part of family. No, I can't imagine any more that a father could do, you know, in an emotional sense. And I could go on and on about that, but just anything for his boys. Right, the essence of Daniel. Well, I started by saying that he loved people and people loved him. He was passionate. Whatever he got into, he was passionate about it. He loved sport passionately. It wasn't always easy because he was a Geelong supporter living in a predominantly, and quite correctly, Collingwood family. And at least it was Geelong, because I can live with Geelong. I think the rest of us can live with Geelong, the sort of middle team, in terms of emotional intensity. Had he turned out to support Carlton or Essendon, I think he'd have been out on his ear. But luckily that didn't happen. Daniel was a bridge of sorts, and over the last 2 weeks, and it's such a shame that some of these things have only become apparent to me with Daniel's passing, but Daniel was a sort of bridge between the two families. So his concern and genuine care for his mother and his sisters was always there. It was always there. Now, I know they will speak to you more about that in detail, but I hadn't really met Lily or Ella until the last couple of weeks, but I feel as though I've known them all their lives. Such was the way in which Daniel included the activities, and always this concern for everyone. Massive, and it's always been there. It's not some realisation that he suddenly twigged to. Daniel loved knowledge, and that impressed me. As a teacher, I like people liking knowledge, but knowledge is something you can look up in a book. The fact is that Daniel read about things. So if you asked him about Hezbollah, he wouldn't just tell you who they were, he'd tell you what their beliefs were and how they were essentially in conflict with, and he could go on. So I guess his love for trivia, and in our family, Christmas Eve, we used to have trivia contests all the time. I'm not sure whose fault that was. And they got very competitive. I don't know, we started off with a $10 prize and it got up to $50 and it didn't go any further. But both Ben and Daniel, they did it in pairs. We'd put an oldie with one of the younger members of our family because the oldies would pick up the older questions. Some had to be dragged. No name, Cheryl. But everyone took part in the quizzes. And more often than not, whether they were alone or not, the winner was Daniel or Ben. And there was quite a lot of pride in that. And I noticed over there on the table yesterday that there was a trophy there for RAC trivia. I'm not sure, is RACT or just RAC now? Just RAC, I'm guessing. But trivia champion. He would have been so proud of that. So, yeah, this love of facts. And he was interested in, or a little bit interested in, just about everything. And that interest was genuine. The sport, pretty similar really, like Formula One, whatever you talk to Daniel about, Daniel could have a conversation with you about it, the key people whom he supported the most. And that was great, as sport is for so many people. It's a great place to learn the real life lessons. I do apologise for this. Work. Look, I keep getting this wrong, but when Daniel started work, he was working for a company called Tas Belting Services. Have I got that close, Noel? Cheaper Belting Services. Doesn't sound great. But this is a job that took him to New South Wales, and so I got to learn about a whole lot of other places I'd never heard of. Really, there's a town called Orange. It's not even a colour. So his experiences would get related, and you'd come back and think, well, I've a little bit been there because of him. He'd just love those trips away. And after that, he went to work in a call centre for Serco. But it was only after that that Daniel started work with RAC. And this is where, and I use this term in its best possible way, this is where Daniel found his tribe. Because he knew here that he belonged, he'd found his people. And he talked about them and looked forward to work, and at times in our family, like I pretty much spend my whole life challenging everything. I don't know what it's called, opposite defiance disorder. And it would only be my nature to challenge RACT or RAC. Boy, it was on. Not fisticuffs, but Daniel would jump in and tell me why these prices needed to be as they were. And that's someone who, sorry, this is probably not a great ad. Daniel's a great ad for RAC, right? But he genuinely loved his workmates, and I know Noel spoke of his conversation with you. I was privileged yesterday afternoon to meet you briefly. Thank you so much. Daniel really loved you guys. They say, I'm getting near the end now. We had a lecturer when I was at uni who used to put the whole lecture on the whiteboard. And I loved that because you could tick them off and you knew how far you were through. This I wish I could attribute to someone famous because it's not my idea. And I can't tell you whose idea it is. It's just an idea I like. They say that we die 3 times. Every individual dies 3 times. The first time is our medical death, the moment when our heart stops and our brain ceases all activity. The second time is today, when friends, when relatives come and commit Daniel's body to the ground and pay their tributes and respect. The third time is the one that I take great encouragement from, and that is any individual lives as long as the last person who can remember them in some way. And sometimes beyond that, if that person's told a story to a younger person about something that happened. So I honestly believe that over time, this isn't going to happen quickly, don't wake up tomorrow and everything's okay. But over time, it'll be that smiling figure in that display that comes to mind increasingly when we think of Daniel. And I hope that I can trust all of you with that. Daniel did not choose to leave us. Daniel did not want to leave us. Daniel, we won't let you leave us.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for sharing with us so honestly, lovingly and beautifully. So those stories have reminded us not only of what Daniel did, but who Daniel was. They've painted the picture of the young man whose loyalty never wavered, whose sense of humour brightened every room, whose love for his family was unmistakable, and whose generosity of spirit touched far more lives than he probably ever realised. Today we've smiled because that's what Daniel would have wanted. But there are times when our own words no longer are enough. For centuries, families have found comfort and strength in the familiar words of the 23rd Psalm. Today, as we remember Daniel, we pause to reflect on those timeless words. The psalm reads, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will live in the house of the Lord forever." As those beautiful words settle upon our hearts, I now invite members of Daniel's family to come forward to pay their tribute to Daniel. I call on his father Noel and mother Karen.
I'm going to try and do my son justice today without all the tears. Thank you everyone for coming today. The support and love means a lot to all of us. I mainly want to just share a few moments and thoughts about Daniel that mean a lot to me. I forgot how to breathe. People know I love to talk. Noel and myself welcomed Daniel into the world with so much love, and I just want to make sure he can feel all of the love here today, and he will take it with him onto his next journey. He's going to love this part. Daniel was a honeymoon baby, and he really did not like me reminding him of that. There was many, just stop. Daniel took 2 days to enter this world. It was a lot of hard work by me. And being the friendly fellow he is, he had his hand over his head as he was entering. It was like he was greeting and waving hello to everybody on the way out. He weighed nearly 9 pounds and was 53 centimetres long. And being Daniel, bigger and better was the best ever. So he was glad he was bigger than all his brothers and longer than all his brothers. Daniel was very alert and took the world in at every opportunity. He reached his milestones rather early, talking very early, and as we know, hardly stopped since. Thomas the Tank Engine was one of his favourite things by 15 months, and by 2 he was able to recite all the trains' names. Thomas' trains, books and videos covered the lounge, and he watched it so many times he actually had an accent like the narrator, with saying the fuck controller as a favourite word. Football playing was a fun time with Dad. Daniel loved waiting at the door each night for Dad to come home, excitedly running to him, and me also, because it was a really long day with Daniel sometimes. He was a very, very busy boy. Daniel became a big brother at 2, and he really loved this idea, holding and kissing his brother Ben while visiting at the hospital. But that changed the day when Ben came home, when he realised he was with us. He said to me to put it back in the capsule and take it back to the hospital. We didn't listen. He did grow to love having a little brother, as long as he could beat him at everything. If not, things didn't go well for a bit. My memories are filled with football between them, bike rides, soccer, cuddles, watching videos and baths together, which the boys recently just stopped doing. He would have loved that. Both Daniel and Ben were looking forward to another Murray boy joining us. Daniel was open to this as he was older and could still be the boss. Both Daniel and Ben loved Josh, showing him toys, reading and watching movies together. And Josh and the bouncer, while they played Nintendo, and sometimes they would just let him hold the controller. And that continued on for a long time as well. I have a very vivid memory, of Josh being a month old, laying on his tummy with no nappy on. From the kitchen I could hear very loud laughing and giggling. And there was Daniel swiping a bank card in Josh's little butt crack, saying maybe we could get some money out of here. And that was Josh's life until he got bigger, and that was Daniel's humour. As the boys grew older, and of course there was lots of fights and wrestling and loud boys' behaviour, and Daniel was always trying to get everybody to do things his way. We lived close to the Yeoman Footy Club, and we had great neighbours in Trevor and Barb Carpenter, who would let them go through their back gate to get to the oval. The boys would go off, ball under arm, laughing and giggling all excitedly. Usually 20 minutes later, one would be coming back in tears, hurt or angry, and I'm very sure the Carpenters heard some and saw some very feral behaviour from three boys without a grown-up there. Daniel, even as a very young boy, would like to argue if he was being growled at, or if sent to his room would have to mouth off all the way up the hallway, with a very dramatic door slam at the end. One particular day, after being sent to his room, he was probably 6 or 7, and having his say, I said enough, and every word from now on, you stay extra time there. And he replied, I'll see you in a week then, I've got a lot to say. And he did. Years later, the boys were overwhelmed with love by the arrival of their twin sisters, Ella and Lily. And Lily has a couple of memories that will be read out by Denise a little bit later. Daniel really took on the caring and nurturing role and doted on them, helping to change nappies and was always looking out for them. He even would sit there while they were being potty trained and would empty their little potties without even thinking twice. When I was getting rather large with the girls, someone, and not as Josh says, was me, told him that you should massage my feet every single night. And dear Daniel did. He would put moisture on and massage my feet, and I'm not angry at whoever said that. Daniel loved extended family time on both sides of the family. He loved his gran and Nan and Pop Buckley. Being the first grandchild on my side, he got a lot of attention and he really loved it. He loved all his cousins, his uncles and his aunts, and every family gathering he just shined. Even when time had passed and we all got busier, his love got stronger, always sharing stories of both sides and asking how everyone was doing. And as Ian said, he was the bridge. I knew what was going on with all his cousins and his dad, and they knew about his little sisters and what my life was being like. As you've heard earlier, The Simpsons, Mr. Bean, Family Guy, Little Britain and the IT Crowd were big influences in Daniel's life. His impressions were all spot on and used daily into his adulthood. And he would love sharing YouTube clips of all his favourite scenes at all our gathering. He would get it on his phone and it would be so far in your face We had no choice to watch it, and he would watch your face intently because that brought him such happiness and joy that he wanted you to feel that love and joy, no matter how long the clip was. Noel and I have taken so much comfort from all the stories and love shared from his friends and work family at RACT. Never once did Daniel ever say anything negative or critical of them, except for his workplace bully, Mia. I felt his pain because I worked with Mia once too, and she was also my workplace bully. And a couple of weeks ago in the RACT car park, the three of us were having a good old laugh about that time, and we were both still scared of Mia, who he loved very much. Recently, I was given a health issue that I wasn't expecting, and it sort of hit our family quite hard. Daniel, in the last month and up until he passed away, would message me every day and would let me know that I'm never alone, that he's got my back, his sister's back, and whoever else needed him. And about the same time, Daniel's car had broken down, so for at least 3 weeks before he left us, his father and I would take in turns of driving him somewhere. And at least 4 or 5 nights a week, would take him to Coles, and he only needed 2 things. And I realised now that he loved that time. Our car conversations were unbelievable. And never once did he get out of the car with a really tight hug telling me, "It's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay," and he's there. And I'd like to just share a little story from after his passing. We were at Parkside discussing the arrangements, and we decided a Geelong scarf would be something we could drape over his coffin. Afterwards, we were wondering where we would get a scarf at this time of the year, and we thought we'd find someone somewhere. The next day, I had an important meeting on my health and about the treatment, and after leaving there, we were going down to see the social worker downstairs. And I headed in first with Lily, and we opened the door, and there, displayed along the bookcase, was a Geelong scarf. And Lily and I looked at each other, and we both said that he said he'd be here on my journey, and we feel in our hearts he was there to make sure I'm going to be okay. Those car conversations were very important. And now I just want to direct to our little families. Ella and Lily, he loved you dearly, and the stories shared by people who work with you, yous were a big topic of conversation. So much love and so proud of you, and we were always discussing those moments. Joshua, he has so much pride in how you are growing up and your role at the Dockers Football Club. You played your first senior game at 15, and Daniel was so proud. I do remember a Facebook post being said about that. And Daniel did say that he felt him and Ben should take some credit for his ability because as a very little boy, and the brother's much older, he had to take what was dished out. So he had to learn really how to run very fast, how to duck and weave, and how to get out of people being piled on top of you, trying to get the ball. Brothers in love always. Benjamin, you were his little buddy for a really long time, and also so proud of you and who you are. The thing he was most proud of was you're travelling the world at a very young age by yourself. No fear, just going and doing what made you happy. And he always thought that was such a courageous thing to do, because sometimes he felt he struggled to get out of Burnie for a drive. The love was always and still will always be there. and for his father, Noel. Ian summed him up as a father. There wasn't anything Noel wouldn't do for his boys, and I would also for him. I knew about every little conversation, every time he's got to chat over fixing a car or a message he'd sent or something that had happened on TV. I knew about it and he shared it because he loved you so, so much. So what I need to say now to you, Noel, and to his family, the last week have been, what if only I did? What if I got there earlier? There is no place for if, buts, should've or maybes. The only thing in our hearts now is filled with love for our boy, for your brother. So now, we did, as a family, get to spend some beautiful time with Daniel yesterday. We got to drink his face in one more time. And I can tell you, I didn't think it was possible to have a pain in your heart that it actually hurts till last night. But I'm okay if that doesn't go because it's filled with love and memories that will never leave. So as I greeted him in this world with nothing but love, I'm happy enough to send him with more love than I could have even thought was possible. And he's going to the arms of some people we've loved and lost. I wish him a beautiful, safe journey. And our lives will never be the same, they will be different. But there's always space for our son, Daniel.
Wow, that's a hard act to follow. Some of what I've written doubles up a bit, but I hate a crowd, and you'll realise my brother and I are related, but you won't probably think so. The thoughts about getting through today have obviously been very daunting, but as you put pen to paper, you realise this day is about remembering and celebrating Daniel. My reflections mainly about activities he loved and interaction with his brothers, but so many other great memories will never leave me, as will the love so often unspoken. With only 2 years between Dan and Ben, the older Dan was allowed to take the lead, as you'd expect. This went relatively smoothly until Ben realised there were other options. Josh arrives a further 6 years on, and our thoughts of continual harmonious brotherhood were soon dashed. Meanwhile, Dan was attending primary school and he was thrilled to be part of a talented soccer team, remarkable for the small school size that Cooey Primary was. No star, but just being a contributor was precious to him. He'd still be mentioning players from that team. It seemed like no time before Josh was mobile and wanting to join in. Simple indoor games, Nintendo, PlayStation, usually with a Simpsons theme or Pokemon theme, often didn't end well, and there'd be the usual settling period. With Josh old enough to join the outdoor activities, Les Clark Oval, now the Burnie Greens, became a popular spot. And I'd also written about going down through the Carpenters, our neighbours, and the contrast between the arrival and departure times was pretty dramatic. The fun down there quickly turned to some physicality and dispute above the others, but they had a different idea naturally. Compliments of nice shot or good catch soon turned to less desirable comments about each other's ability. Fortunately, Ben was mostly able to withdraw himself from the arguments first and act as a sort of mediator. I couldn't understand how they still wanted to return to the nets in the following days for a repeat. If it wasn't in the nets, it was in our very small backyard, a 3 metre wide cement area, house down one side, short retaining wall down the other. Pitch length about 12 metres that could be extended to 16, including a run-up if you used the grassed area but dodging around the bushes. Tennis ball only, thankfully, which Dan would occasionally tape up for some extra swing. Dan's way of showing his ability was to continually put the ball over the neighbour's fence, then not be willing to retrieve it. So game over or someone else gets it. I'm amazed Mrs. Alderson wasn't hit at some point, or at least thought tennis balls were sprouting in her yard. As the tallest, then, Dan would just have to deliver a few bounces. And remember, Josh is 8 years younger than him. So a relationship with Walter's glass quickly developed. What size today, Noel? One of those louvered laundry windows again? Are you sure you don't want to start an account? When I became involved with the Somerset Strikers Cricket Club, Dan started playing as a 14-year-old. The joy on his face to be part of an adult team and around some pretty talented guys, and with Dad watching, was obvious. Even the training he loved. Just he and I spent many hours at cricket nets where we felt free to talk and he execute his cricket prowess. Being dismissed in cricket was always hard for Dan to accept. The umpires got no idea. Others on the sidelines could see it wasn't out. I'd get told several times just to make sure I was on his side. Dan also played some footy through his teenage years, firstly at high school, then some local country footy. He started at South Burnies. He obviously knew I'd be proud of that. He also played with Yeoman, not reaching great heights, but oh so happy to be part of it all. Kicking a goal or receiving a voucher was treasured, as was playing a few games with Ben. Two things stood out through any activity he was part of: pride and passion, words that are being used a bit today. Regardless of his ability, standard of competition or the result, Dan was always so proud and honoured to be a participant. He was so passionate about it before, during and after. As Dan withdrew from active sport through health and injury, that passion never left. Whether it was his beloved Geelong Cats, the Aussie cricket team or Aussie Formula One drivers, don't dare say anything negative. He'd put up a decisive argument as to why the result played out that way or how hard done by they were. Again repeated, just to sound more convincing. So many conversations about events coming up or results after. Another father-son bonding opportunity was the love of cars, particularly Holdens. Lengthy conversations would be had over power, performance or cost versus other models or brands. His own cars quite often required repairs, and between us we were mostly able to fix. Distress calls could be received at any time. I knew his cars were, let's say, worked hard, which was always denied, of course. The pride Daniel showed extended to his brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents in a big way. He was all over anything Ben or Josh achieved, and what he didn't know he was keen to find out. Although I hadn't had much interaction with Lily and Ella, it didn't feel that way. The pride and happiness in his voice when telling me what they were up to or had achieved stood out. Similarly with his cousins, that whole family pride and wanting to always be part of it was remarkable. There is not a bigger lover of family, workmates, teammates and so many aspects of life as Daniel. He thrived in those environments and forever wanted us to realise it. I'm so finding it so hard to imagine moving forward without him. You know my love for you, Dan. You'll always be with me. And I want to close by saying, give your kids a cuddle, no matter how old they are, and continue to show them, whatever you can, how much you love them.
Thank you, Karen and Noel. An incredibly difficult thing to do today, probably one of the most difficult you'll ever have to do. I'd like to call on Auntie Tina to come forward to present her tribute.
I'm Daniel's Auntie Tina. Excuse me. I also worked with Daniel. No matter what, even at work, Daniel still called me Auntie Tina. I used to say to Daniel, "It's okay to call me Tina at work." He would laugh and say, "Nah, it just doesn't feel right." This is something I'll cherish forever. Over the years, we've all spent many camping trips, getaways, and as a family, many barbecues, birthdays, and Christmas celebrations, full of love, laughter, and many, many antics and a few injuries. You will always be included, Daniel, in all celebrations and get-togethers, a seat at every table, campfire, and fishing spot. The meaning of the name Daniel represents qualities that are wisdom, integrity, courage, fairness, and faithfulness. These were Daniel, along with his radiant smile that lit up a room, his constant humour and cheeky laugh, long conversations about anything and everything, and let's not forget the pranks. But most of all, the love he had for his friends and family. At our dad's funeral, Daniel's pop, there was a poem that was read called The Dash by Linda Ellis. This has always stayed with me. It refers to the dash between the date of birth and passing, and this is what matters most of all. The dash represents how we live, love, and how we spend our dash. Think long and hard. Are these things you'd like to change? You never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could slow down enough to consider what is true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel. Be less quick to anger and show appreciation more. Love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. Daniel, you are now on your way to be reunited with your grandparents, great-grandparents, and your younger cousin Bodhi, shining bright stars in the night sky. Daniel, I love being your Auntie Tina. That will never change. It will just look a bit different now. Until we all meet again, I love you very much and I'm so very proud of you.
Thank you, Tina. The remaining tributes have been lovingly crafted by those who love Daniel deeply, and I am honoured to present these on their behalf. The first is from Brother Ben. Ben has written, "Daniel, my big brother, I will always cherish our memories growing up together, playing video games, kicking the footy, watching The Simpsons, South Park and Family Guy, and quoting all the memorable scenes together. I will never forget how you just wanted everyone else around you to be happy. You have inspired me to be a better person, and everything I do in life I will dedicate to you. As long as you are always in our thoughts, you will never be gone. And I know that you will be watching over us, looking after us, your sisters, as they grow up into their 20s, watching Josh's footy games and telling everyone how good he is, keeping a keen watch over me as I travel the world, holding Mum's hand as she courageously fights cancer, and helping Dad fix his cars or being with him whenever he feels done. You have handed me the role of eldest sibling, and I will do my best, but it is you who will always be big brother. Loving you always, Ben." And from Josh. Growing up, all I ever wanted was to be like my big brothers. The past week, my mind kept travelling back to the days when we would go down to Les Clark Oval and kick the football. Being 6 and 8 years younger than my brothers, I had to earn my keep. More often than not, it would end up with me running back to Dad in tears. Daniel, I'm quite confident you turned me into the competitive person I am, no matter what I was trying to achieve in my life. I hope you can see just how much you were loved and cared for. Life will never quite be the same without you. I wish you could see how strong Mum and Dad are. No parents should go through what they've been through, but the way they've carried themselves has been nothing short of incredible. Ella, Lily, Ben and I are missing their big brother dearly. Daniel, you'll be in my thoughts every day, and I hope we will meet again one day. I wish you the best on your next chapter, for your story has not ended. I wish we had more time. We love and miss you dearly. Rest in peace. And from Sister Lily, I want to start with a small act of kindness that sums up to me who Daniel was as a person. When I was 15, I mentioned to Daniel that I wanted to try fishing. The next time I saw him, he turned up at Mum's doorstep with my own fishing rod and tackle box. He found so much joy in making the people he loved happy. He'd surprise us with flowers because he loved seeing our reactions. I was recently told a story I hadn't heard before. When Ella and I came home from the hospital in our capsules, our 3 older brothers sat staring at us. Ben and Josh eventually wandered off to play, but Daniel stayed by our side for the rest of the day, excitedly watching every little movement we made. He hated when Mum put us to bed because he thought we were too far away from her in the lounge room. Hearing that story has brought me comfort because it reminded me that looking after us wasn't something that Daniel learnt. It was who he was. A beautiful thing to say. He was our second dad, watching over us like our own little guardian angel, and I believe he's still watching over us. As we got older, nothing changed. Daniel would babysit us after school, or if we pulled a sickie, let us play GTA with him as long as we promised not to tell Mum. If you look through photos of Daniel, you'll notice he's smiling in every picture. Every photo captures the joy he brought into the room and every life he touched. That's how I will always remember him, with the biggest smile on his face. Christmas won't be the same. Life won't be the same. A huge part of our lives is missing. No episode of The Simpsons, IT Crowd or Mr. Bean will ever feel the same. No one can do an impression or reference as well as Dan. Daniel was the heart of our family. Dan, I love you so much. Thank you for being the best big brother anyone could ask for. Thank you for protecting us, for always looking after us, and for loving us the way you did. I miss you more than words could ever say. I'll carry you with me every single day. From Sister Ella. Daniel was my annoying big brother, and he never missed a chance to torment me. Every time I saw him, he would make sure everyone had heard the story of how I once spelled giraffe with a D. That was Daniel. He had the biggest heart and could make everyone laugh, whether it was his ridiculous Herbert and pervert impression or showing everyone a silly YouTube video that he thought was the funniest thing in the world. He was always the light in the room, but behind all the jokes was someone who cared deeply. When I started my new job in January, he messaged me every single day just to ask how it went. That's who he was, always proud of his little sister. I will miss you more than words can say, Daniel. I'd give anything to hear one more terrible joke or have you make fun of me one more time. I know that every time I see something Geelong related, it will be a sign from you, letting me know that you are here, right by my side. Auntie Kim writes, Daniel had a gentle heart even as a little boy. He was the kind of person who made everyone feel welcome, always left your heart smiling, and who cared without expecting anything in return. Although his time with us was far too short, the memories he gave everyone that had the pleasure of knowing him and the love he shared will remain for a lifetime. I love you, Daniel, which is something I didn't say to you as often as I should have. And I know you have left a massive hole in not only my heart, but so many others. Love always, Auntie Kim. And Auntie Cheryl, Uncle Philip, and his 4 cousins, Chris, Jeremy, Kurt, and Cale, the Adams boys, have written, we remember Sunday dinners at Grans, the backyard cricket and trampling the prize irises, the hours spent sitting around the kitchen table drawing, building with the vintage Lego and playing backyard footy. We remember Boxing Days at the Aldina Forest Reserve, the cricket matches, the hotly debated umpiring decisions, the group photos, and Daniel sliding down a steep bank for an impromptu swim in the creek while trying to retrieve a ball. We remember summer holidays spent together in St Helens with visits to the Mount Elephant Pancake Barn, kayaking in Grant's Lagoon, swimming and bodyboarding at Binnalong Bay, fishing at 4 Mile Creek and sliding down the Perron Dunes and eating out at the Bayside Inn. We remember Daniel heading off to the St Helens Wharf early in the mornings while everyone else was still asleep. He would spend hours fishing before returning with stories of the day's haul. Although many of the fish were well under the legal size and had to be thrown back, they still made it into Daniel's daily fish tally. None of us could compete with numbers like that. We remember the joy the boys had making their own funny movies, the many hours they spent each evening writing and rehearsing scenes and filming these the next day around the St Helens accommodation. We remember Daniel playing the lead role in the Ian Murray movie, a playful send-up of their uncle, imagining his return to tennis glory. We remember watching episodes of Family Guy and The Simpsons together, and Daniel getting a real kick out of reciting the dialogue or dropping one-liners to entertain us. We remember Daniel's excellent memory and his ability to soak up facts and trivia, whether it be sport, geography, history, music, or any other topic that caught his interest. We remember Daniel's passion for quizzes. Uncle Ian's Christmas Eve quiz was great fun and eagerly anticipated each year. Daniel was always keen to do well and relished the chance to show what he knew. When the answers were revealed, he often enjoyed adding a little bit of extra information and, on occasions, challenging the quizmaster. We remember Daniel proudly and enthusiastically telling us about working at the RACT. He spoke about his work at length and in great detail, showing just how much he loved his job and the people he worked with. We remember Daniel being very proud of his dad, mum, brothers and sisters, and delighting in telling us about their various achievements and what they were up to. His kindness and care for his family were especially clear in those moments. We are very grateful for the many wonderful times we shared with Daniel over the years. Sunday dinners at Grans, summer holidays, birthdays, Christmases, Boxing Days and Easter. We are so thankful to have shared these and so many other moments of Daniel's life. We will miss you dearly, Daniel. Beautiful tributes from those who loved him so very much. As we've heard, he has spent many years with the RACT, where he became a very valued consultant, a trusted colleague, a loyal friend, and obviously the guy with the humour. It's now my privilege to invite Daniel's workmate from the RAC to share their tribute.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dean Harris and I'm one of the managers at the RACT. I'm privileged to be here today along with Hammy and Katie to reflect on and remember Daniel's contribution and impact to RACT, both on our members and our teams, particularly here in Burnie. Dan joined us at the RACT in February 2021, along with Sarah, Susan, Amanda and Melanie, a rack star-studded induction group for sure. Dan settled in well to his role as a customer service consultant, both in Burnie branch and within the contact centre. Dan was a well-loved teammate across this time, and his care, compassion and connection with our members was evident from his early days at RACT. After a number of years as a customer service consultant role, Dan moved into our claims team in September 2025 and then onto our business experts team more recently in March 2026, applying his skill set and impact into broader areas of our business. Across his time at RACT, Dan served and supported many thousands of our members across Tasmania, always with a knowledgeable, polite, caring, genuine and truly customer service focused approach. I saw this daily when I was working in the Burnie office, and it was also evident in the many, many member compliments we received for Dan. A small sample of some of the comments about Dan's service over the many years below. Thank you so much, Daniel, for your patience and understanding of me wanting clarification on my insurance questions. Your customer service was 11 out of 10, and just between us, I'd be happy to adopt you as my second son. And thank you for your assistance over the phone last week, Daniel. It was very appreciated. I'd also like to note the great customer service you provided last week was definitely a major factor in my decision to continue my customer with RACT. As mentioned, this is a very small sample of the compliments we often receive for Dan, and it is clear the impact he had on so many of our members. Dan's connection and care for people didn't stop with our members, as he was a much loved and valued member of our team at RACT. Always ready to learn, share his knowledge and experience, support his colleagues, have a chat and share a laugh. Dan was a great teammate to have on your side. He would always greet you with a warm, caring smile and was always the first person to offer a hand of support. Nothing was ever too big or small for Dan. When we completed the second expansion of the Burnie site in mid-2022, we also welcomed Hammy and Graham and a number of others that are here with us today. And I remember fondly the trio of Dan, Hammy and Graham causing me much grief whenever I was in town. Whether it was endless requests for a new deck on the Burnie office, wanting me to take them out on the boat, wearing the famous captain hat, or Graham asking questions I really didn't want to answer. They are times that I'll always remember and look back on fondly, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. It was also where I really saw Dan's, I guess for want of a better term, understated cheekiness come to life. Whilst Graham or Hammy were raising yet another random idea or staff engagement initiative with me, Dan was always there in the background with a big grin on his face, knowing he had egged the boys on to make me dance around, avoiding the idea in front of the rest of the team. I'll certainly miss seeing his cheeky grin when I'm next in Burnie. On behalf of the RACT, I would like to pass on our sincere sympathy and thoughts to Daniel's family. His absence will leave a gap that can never be filled, but his impact and the memories he left with our team will stay with us always. I'll now pass to Katie to talk through reflections from Dan's teammate.
Anyone who got the pleasure of knowing Dan knew he loved a good yarn, whether it be about the weather or a collector's car and referral in incredible detail. Even if someone had their hair done, nothing was ever too small or insignificant to catch his attention. He had a genuine curiosity and passion about people and the world around him, and noticed even those little details that so many of us overlook. Those conversations, whether they lasted 5 minutes or an hour, had a way of making you feel heard, valued, and most times when referring a collector's car, so much more confused. I'm sorry, Dan, but it has 4 wheels, a body, no rust, and not many on the open market. I've got no clue if it had a catback exhaust, upgraded OEM spec parts, adjusted coilovers or sway bars that apparently sharpen cornering when remaining fully reversible. From day one, Dan, you had a quick wit that could turn even the most stressful day into one full of laughter. Whether it was a perfectly timed one-liner, stirring the pot enough to get everyone talking, or just finding humour in every day, you had a gift of making the workplace a place where people wanted to be. Training sessions and upskill courses will have a little less sparkle without you, Dan. But I'm sure David's progression of grey hair might slow down just a little bit now. Dan had the knack of making every training session course module entertaining. Who knew you could spotlight someone on a Teams call? Who knew you could screen record someone and have them as your background? We did, because Dan showed us. Did he actually do it himself? Not so much, except the backgrounds. But he was happy to tell us exactly how it should be done, in true typical Dan style, full of confidence. Who could forget when Olivia accidentally broke the door handle at work? Most people would let it go, but not Dan. Come Christmas and Secret Santa time, he carefully wrapped that broken door handle up and gave it back to her as a present. In a classic Dan move, cheeky, unexpected, and guaranteed to have everyone in stitches. Then came the great Duck River butter debate. Dan was given what we thought was a simple task of grabbing some butter on his way to work for our hot cross buns at Easter time. Not a difficult task. Dan the milkman usually run those errands on many occasions, so why not? When he came back with unsalted cooking butter. When we questioned him, without missing a beat, he simply shrugged, "I'm just a guy." What started as a simple mistake quickly turned into a learning opportunity, which I'm not sure how, turned into a full-blown debate. I was rage baited into why I thought Duck River was a superior choice. Only you could turn buying butter into a conversation we will always remember. To Karen, Noel and families, thank you for giving us the opportunity to stand up alongside you all and share a few memories and humour of Dan. In the last couple of weeks alone, sharing time with you guys, we can see where Dan got his caring and generous nature from. Finally, Dan the man, the myth, the legend, Dan the milkman, DeCallum Murray, Manuel Durry, no matter what nickname he answered to, he was simply Dan to us. Thank you, Dan, for the laughs, the lessons and the memories. You'll be deeply missed and never forgotten. Forever the king of WA, and P.S. you still owe me that coffee.
I kept thinking about how to start today, and my mind kept wandering back to some of the jokes and quotes that Dan and I would throw around the office at each other every day, and one in particular came from the IT crowd, which has been mentioned a couple of times before today. And during a funeral service, someone awkwardly greets the widow by saying, "It's not like you've lost a pen, is it?" And as it turned out, that episode was a running theme in one of the last days I had with Dan just a few weeks ago. And it always made us laugh because it was such a clumsy attempt to find the right words. But standing here today and having went through the last couple of weeks as you all have, I understand it a bit better. There aren't really any right words. You just do your best, and if the best you have is a terrible pen analogy, I guess that's okay as well. I wanted to share a few memories of Dan as I knew him. I met Dan in 2018 when I started working at the Serco call centre, where he was employed before he moved on to RACT in 2021. While we weren't close at our time in the call centre, he became a welcome, familiar face that I recognised when I attended an RACT open night in Burnie in early 2022. It was on this day that I first experienced his, cheery smile and wave talking that would, leave you captivated and at ease and understood. And I can confidently say that his welcoming nature was, a significant factor in me going forward and working where I still am today. It was soon after I came under training that Dan swiftly took me under his wing and was always open to any questions that I had, making sure I was comfortable with what I was doing. And before long, though, those strictly professional conversations certainly went and became more personal as we discovered that we shared loves of similar comedy, TV shows, and plenty of other interests. It soon developed into a ritual that we shared to the end, which was heckling each other every day at work, all day. Whether it was quoting our mutual favourite TV shows or leaving letters on each other's desks that were written by AR lawyers because one of us didn't offer to grab the other person something on our lunch break, there's always been some sort of joke or bit going on between us. Another of those jokes was our unwavering belief that Zesty drink, which is what we called LA Ice, was somehow superior to Coca-Cola, despite it being the cheap off-brand alternative. One thing I always admired about Dan was his ability to make you interested in almost any topic, regardless of how interested you thought you were actually going to be. In my case, Dan, as we've heard, obviously loved sport and cricket. Me, not so much. I'm not much of a sport guy, but Dan, being Dan, found a way for us to bond over it. I remember him coming back soon after and started reeling off colourful lines that commentators have used through the years, and as others have mentioned, showing me YouTube clips, and he'd sit there staring at you to see your reaction. And that was his way of, not necessarily wanting you to like the same things as him, but finding ways that you can share these things together with him. After meeting his close family in this past week, as Katie said previously, it was no surprise to me where the warmth, care and kindness that Daniel displayed came from. And to wrap this up, I wanted to acknowledge how he became such an important person to me in my personal life, especially over the last 18 to 24 months when I was going through some challenges of my own. Dan's door was always open for me, even if we would often just sit at his front door looking out at the over the ocean, way past our bedtimes when we had work the next day. He'd always find time for me, and he'd never make you feel like a burden. And I think that's what I'm going to miss the most, isn't the jokes, the quotes, the ridiculous things we'd do to make each other laugh. I'll miss having my friend.
Thank you, guys. He's obviously going to be sorely, sorely missed in your workplace. There is one more tribute this afternoon, and it is from Somerset Strikers Cricket Club. It was a huge part of his life for a long time, and his enthusiasm, friendship and commitment to the club is going to be acknowledged now.
Hello all, my name is Andrew Wiley and I am honoured to speak on behalf of the Somerset Strikers Cricket Club and would like to pass on my and the club's deepest condolences on the passing of Daniel. Far too young indeed. I first met Daniel in 2013, I think, and we hit it off well, despite the age difference. He had a way of fitting in with everyone fairly easily, a very likeable young man, cheeky as the day is long. He was young and enthusiastic and already very talented cricketer by the time I met him, having been involved in club life for some time before that. Skills sharpened by playing with and training against far more experienced cricketers than he. He was always keen to help out and play wherever required, even if it was A grade, if that's what the club needed at the time, despite perhaps being a bit out of his depth. He always did what he could to contribute around the club and had a great way of communicating with all levels of players, across the years where I noticed him. He and I played together for a number of seasons, and Noel and Josh, and he always threatened to get Ben along, saying he was the champion of the family, but I never saw that day come. His knees and general health stopped his cricketing career, which is a shame. He obviously loved the game so much, and was very knowledgeable in many things in and around cricket, as well as every other thing he set his mind to, it seems. He was handy across all aspects of the game, whether it be batting, bowling or fielding. You could always rely on him giving his all, and quite often starring. To this day, I think he was one of the more difficult bowlers to face in the nets due to his high and slightly unusual action. Made him a bit of a menace for me in particular. As he matured, he went on to contribute even more to the club by joining the committee for a number of seasons and eventually being rewarded by receiving life membership at Somerset, a feat still reserved for very few to this day. Daniel's light burnt bright for only a short time, robbing him and all of us the chance to see what could have been. Miss you, mate. Bye.
Thank you very much. I think we've got a wonderful feeling and sense of who Daniel was now. So we've heard the stories of various aspects of his life, and now we're going to see some photos that will tell the story, where every photo, I am sure, will have Daniel with a smile. So please sit back and enjoy this photo montage.
Let's dance in style, let's dance for a while. Heaven can wait, we're only watching the skies. Hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. Are you gonna drop the bomb or not? Let us die young, let us live forever. Don't have the power, but we never say never. Sitting in the sandpit, life is a short trip. Music's for the sad man. Can you imagine when this race is run? Turn our golden faces into the sun. Praising our leaders, getting close both blinds and turn away. Sometimes solutions aren't so simple. Sometimes goodbye's the only way. Oh, and the sun will set for you. The sun will set for you. And the shadow of the day will embrace the world in gray. And the sun will set for you. In cards and flowers on your window, your friends all plead for you to stay. Sometimes beginnings aren't so simple. Sometimes goodbye's the only way. Oh, and the sun will set for you. The sun will set for you. And the shadow of the day will embrace the world in gray. And the sun will set for you. And the shadow of the day will embrace the world in gray. And the sun will set for you. And the shadow of the day will embrace the world in gray. And the sun will set for you.
What beautiful memories. And yes, he was smiling in every one of them, I think. So now, in a few moments, Daniel will begin his final journey to Burnley Lawn Cemetery, where he'll be laid to rest. You are warmly invited to accompany the family to the cemetery if you wish, but if you would prefer, you can remain here and await their return for refreshments. So on behalf of Noel and Karen and the entire family, thank you for your love and support you've shown them today and over the last week or so. As we leave the chapel, we do so with gratitude for Daniel's life, with sadness for his passing, and with the certainty that love does not end here. It continues in every story that you tell, every laugh that you remember, every act of kindness inspired by his example, and every time you speak his name. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand?
Daniel is traveling tonight on a plane. I can see the red tail lights heading for Spain. Oh, and I can see Daniel waving goodbye. God, it looks like Daniel must be the clouds in my eyes. They say Spain is pretty, though I've never been. Daniel says it's the best place he's ever seen. Oh, and he should know he's been there enough. Lord, I miss Daniel. Oh, I miss him so much. Oh, Daniel, my brother, you are older than me. Do you still feel the pain of the scars that won't heal? Your eyes have died, but you see more than I. Daniel, you're a star in the faith of the sky. Oh, Daniel, my brother, you are older than me. Do you still feel the pain of the scars that won't heal? Your eyes have died, but you see more than I. Daniel, you're a star in the faith of the sky. Daniel is traveling tonight on a plane. I can see the red tail lights heading for Spain. Oh, and I can see Daniel waving goodbye. God, it looks like Daniel must be the clouds in my eyes. Oh God, it looks like Daniel must be the clouds Says Spain is pretty, though I've never been. Daniel says it's the best places I've ever seen. Oh, and he shouldn't